Hello and welcome to Core Basics Coding Tutorial. Today's topic is classes in Python. And here is the list of items we are covering in this video. Okay, let's begin with what is class. When we are talking about class, it's not specific to Python programming language. It applies to most of the other programming languages as well. And it falls under a common paradigm called object-oriented programming. Okay, so let's see what is class. When you talk about human beings, every human being has a common set of properties such as name, gender, occupation, etc. Also, every human will be doing some kind of common activities such as speaking, doing work, or sleeping. So the first set of properties that we covered are called properties in object-oriented programming world. And the activities that human performs are called methods in object-oriented programming. Thus, properties and methods forms a central entity called a class. So here human is a class which has two central components, which is properties and methods. So class is nothing but an abstraction of some entity which contains common set of properties and methods. Okay, what is object then? So object is nothing but a specific instance of a class. For example, for human being, these two are specific instances of the human class, Tom Cruise and Maria Sharapova. They both are human beings, they both have names, gender, occupation, they both do common set of activities such as speaking, doing work, right? But when you talk about specific instance, the behavior, so the behavior varies, their properties are common. For example, Tom Cruise has a name, Maria Sharapova has a name. But when you look at the actual value, which is the real name, they are different. For example, Tom Cruise's name is Tom Cruise. And in the second case, it is Maria Sharapova. So these names are different, but the properties are common. Okay, as we know the concepts now, let's write our first class in Python. As usual, I have pycharm editor open and I have created class.py file. So the way you write your class is first you will use a class keyword followed by the class name, which in our case is human, colon, enter. Now the first method, not the property, is init method. So you'll say def __ init, and it is auto typing this first argument, which is self. Self means this class itself, and this self is useful to define the properties of this class. And the way you define the properties is self.name equal to something, and you will say self.occupation is equal to something. By doing this, I effectively define two properties in this human class, and those two properties are name and occupation. Okay, now this init method will be called whenever you will create an instance of this class later on. So when you're now, as you know from the concept, that an instance has a specific value of those properties, so we need to pass those here in this function. So I'm going to pass name and occupation as an argument of this function. So I will call it n and o and assign the value of those arguments to these two properties of the class. Okay, let's write our first method now, which is do work. Okay, so if you recall from our concepts, based on the occupation of the person, that human being will be doing different kind of work. So if the human being is a tennis player, what kind of work does he do? Well, he will play tennis, right? So I will just say plays tennis. Else if the occupation of the person is an actor, then what does an actor usually do, by the way? Does he cook in the kitchen? No, he shoots a film. Usually he might cook in the kitchen, who knows. Okay, so this is our first method. Let's write our second method, which is speaks. So human being speaks. What does he speak? Well, I will say, just for simplicity, how are you? Okay, so we effectively defined two methods of the class and two properties of the class. So our class definition is complete. So this entire thing is our class definition. Now let's create some instance of it. So the first instance I'm going to create is Tom, and the way you do it is you will create a variable named Tom equal to the class name, and in the bracket you will pass down those arguments. As you see in the tooltip, it is saying self no, and n is highlighted, which means when you're creating an instance of a class, it is going to first call this method in it. Okay, so by doing this, you are calling this method, and this method takes three arguments, self and o. But if you look into a tooltip here, it was saying that the first argument is just implicitly taken, so you need to start from the second argument. Okay, so in the case of Tom Cruise, the name is Tom Cruise and the occupation is an actor. Okay, I'll say Tom do work and Tom dot speak. Okay, so I created an instance of human class and I just called in these two methods. Let's execute the program and see what happens. Okay, so when I execute it, what happens is it says Tom Cruise shoots film. Tom Cruise says how are you? Excellent. So here it recognized that this guy is occupation is an actor, that's why it printed shoots film. Okay, let's create another instance of this class, which is Maria Sharapova. So I will say what I'm going to do is just, okay, I'm not going to do copy paste because that won't be efficient here. So name of the person and the occupation is tennis player, and Maria do work and Maria do speaks. Okay, so this for the second instance, the name and the occupation is different. Okay, so although the class is same, the instance is different. So let's execute this. Okay, excellent. So here you see for Tom it printed Tom Cruise shoots film and he says how are you, versus for Maria Sharapova it says she plays tennis and she also says how are you. Okay, so this was a very quick demonstration of how to create a class and how to create the instance or an object of that class. Thanks for watching.